Can't forget the bird.
Don't either.
No, you know what, before I came here, I
Chris.
like bent over
Is that okay?
to put my shoes on, and I smacked my head. on the-
Carol's doing it.
I don't
On the
should get a
desk,
second.
so
Oh,
it really hurts
She
like
was
that.
trying to, she had to do something on.
Do I have them on? No. Okay, good. I was gonna say, I'm gonna look like an idiot.
All right. Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting on Wednesday, April 10th,
they did.
2024. Per Mass General Law, Chapter 38, subsection 20F, requires any person recording must notify the chairman at the beginning of the meeting. Seeing none. If we can please stand for a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence, please. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Would someone like to read the board and committee openings?
Volunteers are needed on the following: Capital Improvement Committee, 3 Board of Selectmen, 2 moderator appointments. Commission on Disability, 5 of 13 Board of Selectmen. Cultural Council, 2 Board of Selectmen. Economic Development Committee, 5 Board of Selectmen. Energy Committee, 5 Board of Selectmen. Finance Committee, 1 moderator. Historical Commission, 2 Board of Selectmen. Recycling Committee, 1 Board of Selectmen. Zoning Board of Appeals, 1 alternate.
Thank you. Community speaks. Anyone here for community speaks? All right, seeing none. General business, item A, reorganization of the board. At this time, I'll take any motions or
Nominations.
nominations.
I'd like to make a motion for Michelle Hines to be chairman of the board, chairperson of the board.
Second.
Ms. Hines, do you accept?
Yes.
All in favor?
Well, you're gonna ask if there's any.
Any other nominations? Seeing none, all in favor of Ms. Hines being chairman? Chairwoman?
Aye.
All right. Ayes have it.
I make a motion to appoint Justin Sullivan as vice chair.
Do I have a second? I'll second. Do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Any abstain? Ayes have it.
No, why don't we just stay where we are and I'll just take over? Is that okay? Is that okay with you? Oh, well, we need clerk. We're not gonna change the positions now. We have the recording going on, so let's
that's
just
fine.
leave it until the next meeting.
Sure.
That's fine. All right. Next up, do I have any nominations for clerk?
I'd like to make a motion for Chris Zora to be clerk.
Second.
I'll accept. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. There we have it. Turn it over to Ms. Hines.
Item B, recognition of Lieutenant Will George on the occasion of his retirement over 35 years of service. I will. Proclamation, Town of Seacon, Massachusetts, in recognition of William J. George Jr. Whereas William J. George Jr., a lifetime Seacon resident, began his distinguished career by joining the Seacon Fire Department as a volunteer in March of 1988 and became a call firefighter in October 1988. And whereas on December 1st, 1996, Will George was sworn into the Seacon Fire Department as a career firefighter and graduated the Massachusetts Fire Academy in 1998, where he received the Richard N. Bangs Award. And whereas most notably, Will George was recommended by Police Chief Vito Scotti and Board of Selectmen on April 27, 2005, for his actions in assisting with saving residents' lives during a house fire. And whereas on May 7, 2014, Will J. George Jr. was sworn in as a lieutenant with the Seacon Fire Department. And whereas throughout Lieutenant George's distinguished career, the town has received numerous letters of gratitude and appreciation for his professionalism, compassion, dedication, friendliness, and efficient care. He has been described as professional, reassuring, comforting, and calm. And whereas after giving over 35 years of public service to the Seacon Fire Department, of unselfishness, dedicated to the citizens, and devotion of duty, Lieutenant William J. George Jr. is now retiring, and now therefore be it ordered and resolved that on behalf of his colleagues, family, friends, and residents, we recognize with pride your commitment, support, and sacrifices to the town, and hereby express our gratitude and sincerely thank you for your dedicated service to the town of Seacon. Congratulations. Given this 10th day of April 2024, in honor of William George Jr. upon the occasion of his retirement as lieutenant for the Seacon Fire Department for the town of Seacon by the Seacon Select Board. With the key to the town. Now that you're retiring, you won't open everything.
I've said throughout my career that I've been fortunate to be able to protect the community that I grew up in, that I lived in. My family lived, my parents lived in, my brothers lived in. I've had the privilege of working with amazing men and women in public safety. We try to make a difference every day. I'm really gonna miss the fire department. It's been a big part of my life since 1988. But I am looking forward to my next adventure. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time. Thank you.
Thank you. What do you, I'm gonna do?
I don't know how to. Gotta take that one. I don't know. Don't go far.
Don't leave that. You can right there.
Madam Chair, if I could, can we address item L on the agenda while Lieutenant George is here? Because he's also recognized later on for the fine work he did on the fire department stall. I just want to thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure there's no objections. I'm just gonna move on. Consider the donation in the amount of $50 to the Seacon Fire Department from George and Georgia Palakis for the fire department gift account in recognition and honor of Lieutenant William George for his assistance in installing new smoke detectors in their home.
Wonderful couple. I spent several hours talking with them. I did get the detectors installed, but yeah, I was able to talk. I like to. It went from doing detector installs on duty to doing them off duty, just so I could spend time with the townspeople. I felt like pulling up in the engine, I was rushed. A lot of times the tones would go up, so I started doing it kind of on my own time. And I think I'd been at their house twice. I think it was a total of 4 hours. I sat down. Lori and I are actually, Lori and I are actually invited to dinner and scheduling. So it's great to be able to spend time with the townspeople.
Well, this doesn't happen very often in somebody's actual name. I mean, lots of times somebody will give a donation, but they won't be specific. And seeing as you're here today to be honored, this tops it. Can I get the motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate
Good
it.
luck.
Thank you.
Item C, recognition and proclamation for National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. I'll wait for you to get up here.
I'm working my way up here.
Did you see this? You want me to read? Huh? You want me to read? I can read. Proclamation, Town of Seacon, Massachusetts, in recognition of National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, April 14th through the 20th, 2024. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, and emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property, And whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Seacon Communications Center. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are a single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the Seacon Communications Department have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires and treatment of patients. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited passion and understanding and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. So therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Selectmen of the town of Seacon, Massachusetts declares the week of April 14th, 2024 to April 20th, 2024 to be National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in Seacon, in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our community and citizens safe. Given this 10th day of April 2024 in honor of National Telecommunications Week by the Seacon Select Board.
It's my honor and privilege to request from you, select board members, to publicly recognize the members of the Seacon Communications Department who serve this community and the members of the town public safety agencies. They are as follows: Lead Dispatcher Ron Ricky, 2001. Dispatcher Jody Pacheco, 2010. Dispatch Emergency Specialist Nicholas Rondo, 2012. Dispatcher Trainer Melissa Saskowski, 2014. Dispatch Trainer Thomas Deserves, 2016. Dispatcher Taylor Gadero, 2018. Dispatch Trainer Kelly McGill, 2020. Dispatcher Ryan Burke, 2021. Dispatcher Abigail LaFleur, 2022. And our part-time dispatcher Katrina Desroches in 2023. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank them.
Thank you. Thank you.
You moved it away. Next is consider the appointment of Lynn Christino to the Cultural Council.
Madam Chairwoman, I had the opportunity to interview Lynn for the Cultural Council. I think she'd be a phenomenal asset to the committee, so I'd make a recommendation to the board to appoint Lynn Christino to the Cultural Council.
So moved.
Do we know if she's here? She's here. Can you just step up here a second? Did you move?
I made a motion.
Who seconded? Did you?
Yeah.
But I will. Hi. Just if you're here, we'd like to recognize you. So thank you very much for volunteering. Very important.
Thank you.
Oh, wait.
What?
You want to ask a question?
No, test question.
No test, okay, no test question. Maybe next time. The question is, you know, which committee you're. There you go. Okay, I got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous, thank you very much. Consider the appointment of Christine LaChapelle Miller to the Energy Committee.
Madam Chairwoman, I had the opportunity to interview Christine. She is passionate about the Energy Committee, being on the Energy Committee. So I think she'd be a great asset to the committee. So my recommendation is that the board appoints Christine to the Energy.
Is Christine here today? Hey, you were hoping, you were hiding, you were hoping I was gonna skip you. Yeah. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. All in favor, Aye. Everybody, union? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for volunteers.
Volunteering. Consider the, oops, I did that already. Consider the reappointment of Christine DeFonce as treasurer collector for an additional 3-year term.
Madam Chairwoman, I'd make a recommendation for a 3-year appointment to Christine DeFonce as treasurer collector for an additional 3-year term. I'd also like to point out, since she is here, May 31st is her work anniversary, and it'll be 30 years
Okay,
30, yeah, so
excellent.
beats my 10.
Congratulations.
So moved. All right,
Yeah, okay,
I'll let Pam have the motion. I'll do the second.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you for your hard work. Okay. Public hearing, consider the proposal and adoption of an order to lay out the roadways, Stone Ridge Drive and Brady Lane in accordance with the asphalt plan, as-built plan and legal description has been, it's a postponed.
No, it's been withdrawn by the applicant without prejudice.
It has been withdrawn without prejudice. License hearing. Consider request for a change of manager for Blades and Wings. This is also,
That's the manager was not able to make it this evening, so we're gonna postpone that to the next meeting.
okay. Okay, so our license hearing will be postponed to the next meeting. Consider applying for the fiscal year 24 Division of Local Services Municipal Fiber Grant.
Tracy Hanson, assistant treasurer, collector, grant coordinator, and director of Funco. We're here to request the approval to apply for this grant. The main reason being is because it requires a 5% match, which in this case, could be, I think, maybe max of $7,500. According to the estimate that Nick Ronda got for the work to be done. So we would apply for that this week, pending the 5% match approval.
Okay, we'll just explain just a little bit what, and a synopsis about what this is about.
Yes, it's a municipal fiber grant. It's a competitive matching grant by the municipality. For the 5%, construction would be for the fiber going from the middle school. It would continue on to Anna Station, and continue from there, would want to have. The grants are very.
Which is our radio tower.
Which is our radio tower,
Yeah.
yes, one of our radio towers. So it would take us off of that. Recently removed copper, FTTH. From the Verizon, they've given us a temporary line for. Line that we use that we have to pay for, so putting us on the town line would obviously, on the town fiber would obviously. Give us a great start. There are many benefits to having the fiber going from the fire station, fire alerting system for one, that would be the major system that would be able to get on our town fiber line. I can speak to it a little bit more, or I can surround it up here and so to speak a lot better than I can on fiber optics.
Well, I don't really need specifics for the like the people that are going. Well, I did read this, but it's better to hear from you who's gonna write for the grant to tell the public that what it's gonna be used for is to replace system, equipment now that we are paying for.
Correct.
To turn it into town equipment. But we have to pay to install it, but we won't have,
We have to pay.
The total cost, or the cost that we got for the quote was 155,000. We would have to come up with 5% of that out of the communications budget. It's, you know, to get us on fiber, to go continually all the way to not only the station alerting through our fire department, but to continue through to the radio tower would be beneficial for the town. It would be a backup system as well in case the microwave system goes down. So there are a lot of benefits to it.
right, and does this just cover the north end? Or is it something that kind of links in with the whole system?
They link into the system that we have already going to Curly.
Yeah.
So it links into the town system.
Right.
We don't have it going like to other areas, like we were looking into, Bay Coast, where we have systems there. We were looking into MTTI, but we're not gonna, we were strongly urged just to go for this, because it continues public safety.
Mhm.
And it's, we just,
I was gonna ask, where are they?
Just some additional costs, so that 5% of the total, that total did not include the extra costs that are on page 6, at least that's how I understood it. Or did I read that incorrectly? So there's something about the does not include the estimated police details, about 144 hours. The system integration, non-hazardous trash removal, yada, yada. So is that? So there's additional costs from what I'm gathering on top of whatever the 5% of the 155 is. Do you, if that's the case, do you know what that estimate would be?
no, I don't, I was under the impression that was only included, it was included at the end. Yeah. It should be included along with that.
Well, it does say exclusions,
Right,
and they're all listed in client responsibility, but
right.
that's not part of the charge for the entire.
Yeah.
Okay. I can get you a number for that.
How fast do you need this approval?
The deadline's for tomorrow.
But you
Okay,
did, you gotta,
pretty much like-
yeah, you've got to come back. To the board of that, so before we submit the grant, it's matching money.
Yeah.
But before you come back again, can you get, please?
Yes.
Now, this is now owned by the town, once this goes in, we own the town. So what about, who maintains these?
We do.
We do, we have like a maintenance budget for that or something? It's part of the.
I don't have any communication, but I mean, we had a maintenance budget for the buffer line, so
Okay.
I did a transfer.
Okay.
Any other questions from anyone? Chris, you got something?
No, I'm good with
You good?
I'm good.
Get a motion, please?
I make a motion to accept the fiscal year 25 division of local service municipal fiber grant.
Oh, fine.
Fine.
Applying for it.
Fine.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Consider the amendments to sections 2.12.3, 3.2, 4.2, 5, and 6.6 of the zoning bylaws and forward to the planning board for a public hearing for possible approval at town meeting.
I'm Chair, welcome to the board, town planner, here this evening to present a set of zoning amendments primarily addressed at bringing this zoning bylaw into conformance with the MBTA zoning mandate. As the board is aware, the state recently adopted guidelines that essentially placed a mandate on several communities in the Commonwealth that are designated as either MBTA nearby communities or host MBTA host community. For CCON, that translates essentially to bottom line mandate of adopting a zoning bylaw amendment that provides for a by right multifamily zoning district that can accommodate a minimum of 50 acres that accommodates 750 units. That is not to say that what's being sought is to request the construction of 750 units, but that the town has to adopt a zoning district that could provide for that under the guidelines of the state's mandate. Most notably, that requires 15 unit per acre density requirement. In effect, that's really difficult to achieve in a community where we don't have sewers, as the board knows. So to a certain extent, I'm not sure the extent anybody could ever build in CDOT without a significant sewer system or a package treatment plant. That notwithstanding, was being proposed, and I to bring that into conformance, and one of the reasons why it's being proposed is as anyone's been paying attention to the news recently, the state's taken a pretty severe stance with regard to compliance with these mandates, to the point where I believe it was Milton shortly after their town meeting voted not to adopt the MBTA provisions, was within a week or two brought to court by the AG's office in the state. So it's something that the state is focused on, it's something that they're serious with as far as the stick that's going to be held over the community's heads. With regard to this, it's really a funding stick, basically a threat to withdraw from a number of different grant programs where it's a significant grant programs that the town's taken advantage of in the past would be closed out. Obviously, forcing the town to those funds otherwise in other places or otherwise defer those needed repairs or projects. It's for the planning department, but once off for the road program is something that we've been able to take advantage of the housing choice communities designation that we've been able to have over the last several years based on the fact that we actually do have significant house constructions that everybody could remind me of. So as far as the overall theory, as we've talked about previously over the last probably year and a half, going on 2 years with regard to these, this mandate that's been out, our approach has been kind of take our existing multifamily development overlay district, which has been in place for a number of years, and Greenbrier one went into place, modify that so it complies with the MBTA language, and then identify additional areas for that MDOT. Where particularly where the multifamily housing either has been approved or exists currently. So with that kind of opening, if the board have any initial questions, I can address those, or start on the individual.
Can you just explain why Seacon is considered an MBTA community, even though
Adjacent to MBTA.
so it's not like a distance from an MBTA station?
Literally because we're listed in the state law that says here are the MBTA communities, here are the nearby MBTA communities.
Nearby.
Seacon's common.
Okay.
So with that, I'm sure if I can go through the individual.
Quickly, yes, go ahead.
So the first amendment, would be an amendment to section 2.12.3. And this is with regard to, some amendments that were made to Mass General Law with regard to the required majority, at town meeting for zoning amendments. As the board knows, to date, those that require 2/3 vote on meeting. The state recently changed that to provide for certain instances, particularly with regard to production of housing, that certain zoning amendments that are identified as such and are in the correct place, can be approved by a majority vote of the town meeting. So this first amendment is essentially to bring the current zoning bylaw language into conformance with Mass General Law, with regard to those majorities required. In developing this, I had originally drafted the exact language out of Mass General Law. Town council just recommended, and actually get some additional language recommendations today, that we just referenced the Mass General Law enabling for the statute, which is chapter 40A, section 5.
Chapter 48,
Chapter 40A, section 5.
it just says chapter 40, so I just coming into it. Oh, down here. Yeah, so right here, it says chapter, at the top, this in there, it says chapter 48, what section 5?
Any questions on that before I go on to the second?
Actually, a question, are these amendments similar to what was at the last town meeting, or they?
Yeah, some of them are, some of them, this one
Okay.
is new, this was one that should have been at the last town meeting.
Okay.
But the rest of them, for the most part, were other than the proposed expansions to the, MDUD.
Okay, thank you.
Which is a good segue into the next amendment, which is the maps, which we propose the additional areas for the MDOD, if I can point the board to the GIS maps that are towards the back. In developing the proposed areas for inclusion, the first thing I did was ask the assessor's office for a list of all the multifamily properties that we have in town. This isn't every, and that's referring to this kind of townwide map that has all the dots on it. That doesn't mean that every place where there's a dot, there's an apartment building. That captures anyone that has an accessory unit and an in-law apartment, duplexes, probably a few triplexes out there. As well as kind of legacy multifamily that we had from prior. So in doing that, we kind of the next step would be to identify places where we knew, one, there was the existing MDOD, and that's reflected essentially here. With this plan, a map essentially showing the existing Green Briar One development. And then from there, looking at where those concentrations of multi-family housing were. In doing so, we also, I did also want to note that we also have one existing zoning district that does allow for multi-family housing by right, that's Lucas Corners Village District. As far as why can't you just designate that as our NBTA zoning? It's not adequate size wise to provide for that 50 acres set of energy. So with that, then we started looking at places where we do have those concentrations. I tried to kind of, lack of better terms, spread the wealth somewhat, identify areas in the north section of town, the central section of town, as well as the southern section of town. Just quickly to talk about the southern section of town, the intent would be to add the proposed Greenbrier 2 area, which is currently been approved as a multifamily development. It's got an existing 40 approval in place there. I think they're just working through some of the final state approvals with regard to that. And one thing I do want to note is this MBTA communities designation and mandate is absolutely being totally separate from the 40B affordable housing mandate. The MBTA communities mandate is really a mandate to generate housing, not necessarily affordable housing. It's really in recognition of the state's recognition of the housing crisis that everyone talks about and it's driving everybody's property. And then moving on to the next proposed district is the concentration of multifamily in the northern section of town, Oak Hill Avenue. That's designated on this plan here, we'll identify as the Oak Hill Avenue extension. And then the third and final is on Putnam Avenue on the Providence line in the Juby Street area. On this. And again, the red parcel mark areas where there's either existing multifamily in-laws or accessory. Taking back to the language and proposal. Amendment number 3 would be to, and this was one of the zoning amendments that was in front of town meeting last time, would be to allow for 8 second floor accessory units per building in the highway business district and take that from what's currently a special permit to a permitted use. This would allow for some additional units and also be consistent with some of the economic planning that we've been doing along the 6 quarter, calling for some additional mixed use, particularly as we kind of see the demand and for office space really kind of beyond the decline.
Is Route 6 the only highway business district?
One of the things that we'll be presenting at town meeting, there are a few other areas of highway business. So there's one on Route 44. I don't believe that there's any on the north section, not that I would double check that. That's one of the things I'm gonna be, when we get to town meeting, hopefully we can get some presentations on identify exactly where those are. I think one of the problems with last town meeting, with people kind of had this vision of apartment buildings from Highland Avenue all the way to along Route 6. That wasn't what was proposed. It's really concentrated into the real commercial development, commercial section of Route 6. Amendment number 4 would be an amendment to the national table with regard to building height and authorities, and that's going to bring the zoning bylaw into conformance with some of the applications that we've seen in front of the zoning board recently, and as well as more in conformance with the existing zone overlay district, and kind of match those up. Previously, we did have those reviewed by the fire department, making sure that we weren't overstepping our bounds there, creating an issue that wasn't identified by Chief Lowry prior to last time. Amendment number 5 is the actual amendments to the multifamily development overlay district, and working with town council to develop these. And as town council said for the planning board the other night, this whole process has been a moving target from the state's perspective, as far as compliance, as far as the particulars of the mandate. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're not back kind of making some corrections to this, or tweak this a little bit more at the next town meeting. We do have, under the mandate, deadline, quote unquote, to adopt these provisions by the end of this year.
Mr. Robin,
Yes.
very important what you said there. Because if we go to Springtown meeting and if some or all or one of these provisions does not pass, are we staring down the barrel of the AG like Milton is, or what do you?
No, my understanding is we still have full town meeting to address any not to get it passed. I think if we were to not pass it at the full town meeting, we would be in Milton's position on January 1st, 2025.
So if Milton, I'm assuming that Milton had the same deadline that we did.
No, Milton is, I believe, considered a host community, so their deadline was actually the first of this year.
Okay.
So they had, I'm not sure exactly what their form of government was, but I know that the way it played out, it had initially been approved by the select board. Then there was a backlash in the public side, and I think they had a special election, again, I'm not. I think it was a town vote. Yeah.
Yeah,
That voted.
yeah, then eventually the
At that
town,
point,
but
They were, so by the initial vote of the select board, they were in compliance. When that special election occurred, or the townwide vote occurred, that took them out of compliance, and that's when the statement.
Okay.
Brought them to court.
so worst case scenario, there's a second bite at the apple if need be.
Yes.
Date is December 2024, December 31st.
And then just to close, I just asked this evening for a referral to the planning board for a public hearing. And then obviously there'll be a meeting to the bottom.
One other question with regards to these amendments. At the last town meeting, you had presented a number of amendments and they were all kind of lumped in together. If somebody didn't approve of one, it brought it all the others down. Is your plan to put all these on one warrant article, or is it gonna all be separate
The
articles?
planning
How do you-
board, and we would put it in the memo requested that it be voted on, it's not listed successfully on the town warrant.
Make a motion to send the amendments back to the planning board for public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Thank
Consider declaring 04 River Avenue, Plat 7, Lot 113 as surplus property.
Madam Chairwoman, so that we have the GIS maps in front of you, packet. So I was approached by, David Darling, who owns the plaza where Chick-fil-A is, and they at home. Looking to purchase the property, directly in front of the parking lot, and he had stated that it was town-owned lands. I wasn't aware that there was any town-owned lands, so doing research. This is the property he's looking to purchase. So I'm leaving it up to, not leaving it up to the board's authority to make a determination as to whether or not we want to declare this surplus real estate. I had Dave Cabral go out there, review take a look at the property. It's really just, we've got the gas line out there, we've got high tension wires out there, we've got some drainage system. Not sure why the town owned it originally. I don't know if it was something to do before Route 6 got in there. But there's really no use for the town in terms of needing this property. So if the board does want to declare it surplus, we would just have to put that on the town warrant article for town meeting to vote on that. And then they'll come back and we would have to go through the 30B process, so we'd have to go out to bid. The only thing I would say is that is the case, and we can discuss this if it is past that town meeting. You can notice that the property actually extends all the way through past the Walmart parking lot. So what I would suggest is that we do a Form A, and we cut off where that parking lot is, so that if we are gonna sell it, it does go to the Darlings, that would not have an issue with access to somebody's property that's belong to them.
I know this has a flat and a lot number. Is it possible to somewhere to specify to sell it in accordance with existing boundaries? Like you say, because Mr. Dowling doesn't want to buy the whole thing.
he wants to buy, what if that's his property?
So I don't know if his intention is to buy the whole thing, so I looked at it, he said in front of his property, I didn't realize it.
Right,
It ran
it
all the
stretches,
way,
yeah.
so. Just my initial review of this, I guess the only concern I would have, same concern Dave Cabral would have, would be that it extends into the entrance and exit of Walgreens.
It was all the way.
Oh, it goes all the way.
It goes down the back, it's all
right, yeah.
Because the Dunkin' Donuts all the way to the next plaza, so.
Well, people who have worked in town know that this has existed forever. I know it's existed forever, but in order to, we can declare it surplus property if we choose to. But then there are at least 3 property owners that, 4 maybe, that this affects. So if Mr. Dowling doesn't want to buy the whole thing, can we sell it?
Yeah, we can, I mean, the board,
Piece.
once it comes back, the board will make a determination as to how you want to formate this. Because I would say that we would go through the planning process, get this subdivided, and then we can offer it up. I know we keep saying that Mr. Dowling, but he has to go through a bid process, where it's an open bid. We don't know who the bidders would be, and at the end of the day, it'll be up to the board to make a determination as to who property is gonna go to, if you choose to sell it.
Right, but you don't have to sell it.
You don't, no, even if you go through the
Even
bid
if
process.
you, even if you split it into multiple flats there, sections, you still don't, you could sell one but not the other.
Right.
That would be our determination again.
Right.
So,
So the first step would be for the board to determine whether or not it's surplus. I have a placeholder on the warrant article. So if that doesn't go, we would just remove that from the warrant, and then if town meeting approves, then we would do the bid process.
you said Dave Cabral went out there and there were wires and.
I
Is
did-
that gonna impact,
No, the easements will stay with
the
the.
easements will stay?
Between the two parking lots.
All right, yeah, so it's in here.
Yep. Wait. I'll make a motion that we declare 0 Thornwood Avenue as surplus property.
Second.
You have any other questions? Comments, nothing, all good?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Did tell already, thank you. Accept the resignation of Andrew Cook from the fire department. Effective what?
Oh,
It was March.
What's wrong with it again last time?
No,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
it was, okay, I'm pretty sure the date was March, but I'm pretty sure it's wrong.
yeah,
Okay.
you just accept the resignation.
Yep. Accept the resignation of Andrew Cook from the fire department.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
I just have a couple of questions like I always ask.
Go right ahead.
Of course, is there any reason that he gave for leaving? Is he on another department,
Not that work,
not Brattleboro? How long was he with CCOM?
6 years.
All right, thank you.
Is that good? Everybody, good? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Unanimous, thank you. Accept the resignation of Timothy Greaves from the position of emergency telecommunications dispatcher.
So moved.
Second.
Same questions, if you don't mind.
Just the resignation.
What? No, what, he didn't give a reason for it. And how long was he with CCOM? 4 months?
4 months.
4 months.
Yeah.
Good.
All set?
Oh, no, was there a reason?
He just resigned, so.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? We all good? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. Approval of fiscal year 2025 budget.
So Madam Chairman, just no changes to the FY 25 budget as presented, but I will point out, the House today is filing, their budget, so there is a change to education, but we haven't seen it on the cherry sheets yet. So as I mentioned, for the school department, we haven't seen a significant increase in the chapter 70, so we get that full harmless aid, which is $30 per student, based on our enrollment numbers, which I believe were 2,076. The House is proposing that minimum aid go from $30 to $104, so that would be roughly about $153,000 increase to the schools. So at town meeting, I'm sure we'll have cherry sheets by then, would probably make a recommendation that the board obviously appropriate that money over to the schools so that they have an additional $133,000. There is some discussion that the Senate, when they get to their budget, that they are going to try to attempt to increase that even more, potentially by $100 to $200 more than what has been proposed by the House. Somewhere in between the House and the Senate numbers, they'll work on the consensus. It may just fall in between, but the $104 is a lot better than $30 that we received. So
that is basically be the only change possible.
right, so we would need a motion on the
Which would be
floor.
town meeting.
Town meeting.
So do we need a
So-
motion for this?
I'll make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2025 budget as presented by Mr. Gadeen.
Do I get a second?
Second.
Any other questions, folks? All in favor? Any opposed? No, not seeing none. Unanimous, thank you. Consider amending category 14B foul of the town bylaws to include duck.
Thank you, Ms. Hines. This was brought up by a resident that was looking to have ducks in their backyard for purposes of eggs. Of course, my first thought in communication to him was the town would never approve it due to not approving roosters. And then they began to educate on me that this is a quackless duck. These ducks, they get along well with chickens. So they can all do their thing and have eggs and all play nice together. They're not looking to increase the number, as right now, the number is 12 chickens in a yard. They're not looking to increase the number. They're just looking to mingle some ducks with the chickens to get healthier eggs that these Muscovy ducks produce. I told them I would bring it to the board if they felt it was okay to open up the warrant and place this on the warrant for our Springtown meeting. Then that's up to the board. The resident was unable to come tonight due to work to explain it, but like in the packet, the detailed sheet explains what the Muscovy ducks are and why people would want them. They're not a nuisance like some other ducks are. I don't know much about ducks, but I did some research and seemed okay to me.
Do we have animal control? Did you show this or speak to animal control at all?
No, I did not go over. I sent it to the office and Ms. Testa, which printed out for the packet tonight. I'm not sure if they sent it to animal control.
So it's not just to include any ducks. It's
No,
very specific.
And the way they explained to me was because it's a quackless duck, it gets along well with chickens, they can live well together, and that's why they said, like I said, when they said ducks, I said, people never approve it doing quacking and everything else, and they said, no, this is not like a rooster, makes no noise, they're harmless, they're very friendly, and I guess their eggs are jumbo eggs that are really good. That was the whole idea behind it. So I said, I'll bring it to the board. And they sent me multiple pages and documents of all about this duck.
Well, it does say that they are not silent. It says, though there's sometimes called quackless ducks, and indeed they're very quiet for waterfowl. The term can be misleading as they are not silent.
That's the way they described it to me, and that they do a little squawking, but they're not loud. So I
So
did,
how would this be added to, how would it be?
it would just be so it would be to include the Muscovy ducks.
But would they be numbered? Don't you have a number and is that
Combination.
Oh, yeah, combination, they didn't want to go above the 12, it would be just up to 12, what we have now, and
which would include?
To include
Would
chickens
include,
and
yes.
Muscovy ducks.
which would include it. Like I said, the resident was hoping to be here to explain it further but they're not here. I'm not sure what the board wants to do, but I said I would bring it forward.
So we can't just arbitrarily amend category 14B. It has to be put on the warrant to be approved at town meeting, right?
Yeah, it would be,
So
bylaw.
the motion would have to reflect that.
So I guess I'll make a motion to open the warrant to consider including on category 14B Muscovy ducks. Not to exceed 12.
Total.
Total total in conjunction with the chickens.
Okay, I have the motion.
Second.
Yeah.
Any other questions? We're all set with this, right? Just put the ding away. It's done. We can get it on.
Yep.
We good? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Seeing none? Unanimous. Consider opening the town meeting warrant if the amendment to the town bylaws is approved.
So moved.
Say something. No. I just read I just read it wrong. I'm good.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Seeing nobody opposed. Nothing captain doing. Approval of the warrant to Springtown. meeting.
So Article 1 is the typical reports for the committees. Article 2 is our budget article. On page 2, Article 3, that's going to be the salaries for the elected positions. And the Board of Registry members that are appointed.
Just so,
Sorry.
just so people at home or the chairs of these boards, there is no raises. We've received letters prior from a couple of these different boards looking for raises and or money for different boards.
Yeah, so no increases to the actual boards. Yeah. Article 4 is the capital items. So we've got 10 items on the capital. So the first one is the final payment for the lease purchase of the fire engine. That's in the amount of $87,745.10. Number 2 is the final payment for the lease purchase of the heavy duty dump truck with plow from Public Works. The amount of $102,535.49. Number 3 is a request coming in from the school department to purchase purchasing and equipping of one utility truck with a plow for the use of the school department. That's going to be, if approved, expended under the direction of the school committee. That cost for that equipment and the purchase of the vehicle was $96,175.86. Item number 4, this is the purchase of a library server and VMware for the library. They currently have a server which is near end of life, so we're looking to get the new server plus some wireless hotspots to include into the server for the amount of $30,800. They're also looking to purchase the public service desks for the library. So there'll be 2 desks that are going to be purchased. It's $90,000. The cost seems a little high, but these are mobile desks. So the desks that are currently there are standalone, so they can configure and move around. The desks that are currently there are also not ADA compliant. So these are not only movable, but they're ADA compliant, and then they're also able to be locked up with various equipment in there. So that's libraries for. Obviously, some of this, as we're not doing a new building, that would have been included in probably some of the FF&E for the building itself. But we've kind of held off on a lot of these capital items because of the potential construction of a new public library. So now we're. So those were the 2 requests from the library. The next 3 are DPW items. So item number 6 is going to be the purchase of a Packer body for the Public Works Department of $50,000. That's just the body itself for the yard waste.
Replace or brand new? Like, so it's gonna be an addition.
So we'll have 2. So we have that truck that goes out for the yard waste. That essentially looks like a trash truck. This will be a second one that they have. Number 7 is the purchase of a Toro 4000 mower. That's going to be to add to the fleet, which is $75,000. Item number 8 is a year 1 of a 3-year lease purchase for a 1-lot dump truck. This is going to replace the 2011 International that we currently have. So this would just rotate into the, currently have 6 Sanders large dumps for sanding operations that are DPW.
Do you have the specs on that? Is it a 6-wheeler or a 10-wheeler?
It's a 6-wheel.
Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause then there's.
Yeah, that one said 10.
10-wheeler,
That's
so-
not- Yeah, that was wrong. So that's a 6-wheeler and it's gonna go, we had the international, the new dumps that they're bringing in is the Freightliners.
So here's the biggest question. What's the waiting list now? Because I believe the last one they got in, it was about 2.5, 3 years ago we ordered it. How far out is this one?
The rescues are 3 years out, so I'm not sure where we're gonna be with this one. They may have some in stock. I'm not sure. I didn't ask the question.
Actually, for all these items.
Yeah.
That's-
So that's item number 8. Item number 9 and 10 are for the police department. 10's a little bit of a combination, police and communication, but number 9 is the purchase of a K9 car for the police department. That's 90,000. That's to equip the car as well. And then number 10, I'm sorry, that's 90,000. Number 10 is the expansion of the evidence room in the for the police department. And then also the OIC office that we have. So the evidence room, as we have talked about, is small and we're outgrowing it. So what the plan is to expand into the 4 unused cells that were into the police department. So when the public safety was built, we put in extra cells because the thought at the time was that the sheriff's office was going to come in and manage the cell block area. They never did that. So we've got 4 cells that are completely vacant at all times. So that abuts the evidence room. So what we're looking to do is really just blow right into the evidence room, expand it, being able to use the cells. So the cells itself, the cell doors will remain, we'll be able to block up drugs and other evidence that's there. At the same time with this, what we would be doing is Nick Rondo is what we call internally the boy under the stairs. His office is legitimately under the stairs in the fire department. We want to remove him from underneath the stairwell, put him where the current IOC office is. So we'll create a wall there. There's a copy room with this department is used. So this is minor changes, but we'll move the IOC there, have 2 desks there. And it's, what did I say? I'm sorry. I see. And then also in the break room, we'll do a slight expansion. We've got the kitchen area. We're gonna move some of the cabinets, add it, but we're gonna have more of a bar style tables for reports to be done for the officers when they come in. So that's all gonna be part of it. So we got a quote for the actual design. So the architectural design the cost is about 70,000. But that's to go design, construction, management, getting the structural engineer, because we got to go through the cement walls, cinder block walls. And then the construction itself is anticipated to be anywhere from 150 to about 250,000. So we have about 200,000 here if that goes through. Article 5 is our typical CPA for the fiscal year. Community Preservation Act fund. Article 6 is the annual declaration of surplus, dispose of surplus property. So this excludes any buildings and lands. Article 7 is the snow and ice, looking to use $62,000 of free cash to cover the $62,000 deficit that we have in snow and ice. Article 8, we're looking to, we finally got some direction from the Department of Revenue in terms of how we can handle our opioid monies that are coming in through the lawsuits that are taking place. So we currently have $147,030. So originally they were trying to tell us that we needed to go to free cash and then appropriate it somewhere because it can only be used specifically for opioid related expenses. So what we're able to now do is create a special revenue account so that we don't have to put it into the general fund and allow for it to flow to free cash. So we're looking to create that specific special revenue fund for the opioid monies coming in. Article 9 is a request from the school department. Originally, when I got this request, I thought it was just a capital item, but after having conversations with the superintendent, it's a little bit more than that. So what they're essentially looking to do is create another stabilization account. So we have already approved the stabilization account specifically for the school department. And we did have conversations about the fact that that's still there, that we're still working on trying to figure out a policy and a funding mechanism for the schools to be able to put money into that stabilization account. However, there is concern, it's continuing growing concern, especially after the statement of interest was not approved by the school committee at Monday's meeting with the HVAC system over at the Kevin Hurley Middle School. So what they're looking to do is create a stabilization account specific, and their concern is that if they put it into the school stabilization account, that it'll kind of get lost with other items, that they want to have something that's specifically identified to handle the HVAC system at Hurley. So this is a two-part question. It's one question, but there's two things in here. One, creating the stabilization account, and then two, funding it. And so they're looking for an initial funding of $50,000 to go into that account.
So I got,
Yeah, how are they gonna go forward with that? They want $50,000 up front from free cash. Are they gonna come every year? We're gonna take out free cash every year?
That's,
I won't agree to that.
yeah, so that's, I don't have that
Okay,
answer.
all right, I just,
Yeah, so this is their request. So it will be required, 2/3 vote will be required to create the stabilization account.
what about for them to spend it though? They're gonna have to, every time there's an issue,
That is, so you're gonna still need 2/3 to get the money out.
that's what I mean. So they have to wait twice a year, but if the thing fails in the middle, they have to come back for $5,000 for a part. Oh, we heat's on hold, we gotta wait. Well, the whole thing sounds weird to me. That they wanna make a special account, then
Did they realize that they can't just use
just
the
can't go
money?
to it.
Yeah, so I don't have all the answers.
Well,
They are,
to be honest with you, like, they're asking for the stabilization fund, so they have to justify it to us, or tell me. In reality,
Yeah.
right? We can't debate that right now. I don't think.
no, I don't.
I don't think we can debate this warrant that we didn't put it forward, they're asking for, correct?
Yeah.
They already have one, they still don't have that one figured out yet,
Right.
but now they want another one, and they're gonna ask for free cash. For the first year, what are they gonna do for the next year, and the year after, and the year after, we haven't figured out the first stabilization.
Right now, how was the first one even working? How did they get money in the first one? Well, the thing
There
is,
isn't, it's
yeah, right now, all we're voting on is to approve
the warrant, the warrant.
And seeing as this was submitted by the school committee, we just have to either agree or not agree to put it on. All these questions, yeah.
So we're gonna come back around later and vote on each of these to see. I can't.
You're gonna do it at town meeting. Right now, we're voting, we're gonna put this on the warrant.
Well, we could
Yes.
vote tonight not to even approve that.
In the warrant.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
All right.
But if it was on the warrant, then that's when all questions would be asked.
Sorry.
I don't think there's anybody here from the school department that might. All right, and
That was Article 9. So Article number 10, this is for the PEG cable access special revenue account. So we need to set up the special revenue account to be able to put in the monies that are coming in from Comcast into this account. If we do not, we run into a similar situation with the opioid money that it's got to go into the revenues for general fund, and then be able, before you can even make an appropriation, it's got to be certified for free cash and then appropriated. So with this special revenue account, as the money comes in, we deposit it into this account, and then it's available for appropriation. Article 11.
Which would fund local cable access.
Correct. Yep. Well, you'd have to make an appropriation out of there.
All right, so this is.
So this is just to collect
The
the
money that we get.
Correct.
And then we make an appropriation to get back on track and have
Appropriations.
appropriations for cable.
Is there another article in here for that appropriation?
There is not. No. Good question. Article 11 is the trash contract, so there's still, we're not sure which vendor we're gonna be going with, so this is really just a template. So just looking for, so because it's over a 3-year contract, town meeting does have to approve and give the authorization to the board of selectmen to enter into a contract above 3 years. So this is essentially a 10-year contract, but nobody's coming in, nobody was willing to bid a long-term 10-year contract. Nor was I really comfortable going for a 10-year contract, so essentially it's a 5-year contract with 5 one-year options. Which the 5 one-year options are negotiable at that time, so. At some point, we essentially are tied in for 5 years. After the 5 years, we can make a determination if we're gonna try to renegotiate the costs at a 1-year in intervals with the current vendor, or we can just go back out to bid. I will say that the cost came in a little higher than anticipated, so I was hoping to have the vendors at least a recommendation for the board to award a bid so we can begin negotiations. However, they were a little too close, so now we've got to go back, and there's a little bit of hidden cost somewhere, so we need to kind of analyze that. So that meeting's going to take place on Thursday. So hopefully by town meeting, we'll be able to have who the vendor is for recommendation. So, but I will say that in terms of from a budgetary standpoint, we had $100 in there for the tipping costs just for trash. It actually, one of them was at $103. The other one came in at $105. Recycling, which we don't pay for recycling, is now $125 per ton right now. So, and collection. This is not good. Yeah, collection is close to $1 million a year, and north of $1 million.
So buy some more packer bodies and do it ourselves.
Workers' comp, that's costly too. So, that's Article 11 for trash. Article 12 is the placeholder that I put in there for what we just approved for the surplus property over at Florida Ave. Article 13, did you say you want to separate the bylaws?
These vote on them separately.
One more article? So Article 13 is the zoning bylaws that John just went over, so I'll just confirm with John and town council what the best approach is in terms of voting on them separately. So we might have, this is what you'll agree to. We don't typically make recommendations on the planning stuff.
Right.
That on the floor. So this may break out into multiple articles. That's fine. That was. John takes up a lot of real estate. Page 18. Article 14 is I guess technically a voter petition for the zoning change. To a lot, so that's gonna extend that zoning.
The last one's voter petition.
And then the last one is a voter petition for $25,000 from free cash to purchase van instruments for the Seekonk High School events.
I wasn't from the school. Voter petition.
And that was
No, I see it. Just
yeah,
kind of,
that was a voter petition.
and then 16 would be the
16 will be the following.
bucks.
Yep.
Article 14, the rezoning, contact will have, so I believe that I'm using.
Correct. Yeah.
Voter petition.
That's up. I'm sorry, Chair.
What, I don't know what she's.
Oh, you heard about Article 14.
Oh,
Why don't you, you're here, why don't you come forward?
I was at the planning board last night.
Oh,
And,
could you state your name for the
oh, I'm
record?
sorry, Teresa French, Terry.
Do you live?
1685 Fall River Avenue in Seacon.
Yeah.
And this is an abutting property at 1693 Fall River Avenue. The gentleman has purchased, I guess, 5 acres of property from the Argents. And Saturday, I just became apprised of the fact that he wants to put in mini storage units, and I'm adamantly opposed. And I went before planning to explain the reasons why. I'm not really sure if this is the forum where I can also explain to you why I'm opposed, and I don't understand the warrant issue, but if this is something that I can say I don't want it on the warrant for the town meeting, then that's what I'd like to do, but I don't know if I have the ability to do that in front of you, but I can explain to you my reasoning behind what's going on. And I don't think that I'm the only one that's going to be affected by this. I think because of the budding property, obviously I'm super concerned, but I think it's something that we all have to take into account just to protect ourselves and all our residents. I'm in a R3 mixed use, and I am watching the industrial come closer and closer to me. I just realized after the fact that Consolidated has now become industrial, which is abutting this property that's in question. I feel that if you were to approve this rezoning and let this gentleman go from an R3 mixed use to industrial, it's going to open the door for not only your asphalt company, but also for anyone else that wants to utilize this as a precedent to be able to turn your zoning into industrial, and pretty soon CCON will be more industrial than residential.
Mrs. French, you're not the voter petitioner that wanted this put on the warrant.
Correct. I
You
am
are-
adamantly against it.
You're against it, okay.
Correct,
Could you hold your comment for a second?
of course.
Because she's not the petitioner that actually put it on here,
That's why I was turning it.
Hello.
Oh.
Attorney Bo Akers, Barrington Brothers, on behalf of the petitioner. Um,
okay. Just give me a minute. I would say we could hear from him because we did hear from somebody opposed, but unfortunately for her view should be heard at town meeting if we vote to put this on, vote to have this put on the warrant.
Correct. So you, I mean, you can take her comments as you see fit, and if you want.
No, I know.
If you want to put, you want to keep it on the warrant, we keep it on the warrant. Just so that she knows, I guess if I can explain the process. So the process the board has is to put the warrants, the articles onto the warrants, which then go to town meeting, and that's the legislative bodies. So that's when the legislative body actually votes on it. So as long as you're, and we have open town meeting, so as long as you're a registered voter, you can go to town meeting and you have a right to vote on it, you have a right to speak on the matter as well, so.
Okay. I can appreciate that. Last night at the meeting, the planning board decided not to move forward or approve it at that time, and the meeting was closed. And after the meeting was closed, the gentleman or the attorneys for the person who wants to put it on the agenda addressed the board, and the board decided to retable it for the next meeting. I had initially asked for it to be retabled at the beginning of the meeting because I was ill prepared and I wanted to have my also other residents and other people, and to also do my due diligence to learn more and be able to present things to you as well as the planning board. But that wasn't afforded me last night, but now it was afforded to the attorney who asked after the meeting had closed to have it moved ahead. So it was rejected, and then,
Oh, I'm sure I can just explain procedurally what happened.
yeah, and it's a
That's totally-
procedure thing, and I'm not well versed in the procedure. It just caught me off guard. And I need to educate myself as far as the procedures are. It's
Right.
just like your forum. I'm not sure exactly why I'm here or what I can do, but I can tell you that whatever I can do, I will do, and I will do it under the guise of whatever the rules are to do that. So you just let me know how far I can go and what you're willing to hear, and whether or not this gentleman goes before me and I can present my case.
Well, see,
after
the
that.
thing is, we're not taking, you were here, so I afforded you the ability to come up with that. I didn't realize you were not the voter petitioner, but that's okay. But our job here right now is to decide to accept the warrant article, to accept this article onto the warrant. We don't have to hear testimony for it or against it. Because it's a voter petitioned article, don't we have to put it on the warrant? That's what I thought. So,
But
with,
it's not been on the warrant,
Well, it's-
no matter what happened at
Can
the board.
Can I just
Yeah.
clarify, so it's not an actual voter petition, it wasn't 25 signatures that was submitted.
It's an application by the property.
Yeah, so that, it's a little, the wording is a little misleading, so,
Okay.
it's voter petition through the application, it's not the voter petition that you typically see, I think 10 or 10 signatures, right?
but then how did he, I don't get it. Why is it, why is it here? Why is it in the warrant? Is this the proper way to do this, Mr. Oldham?
This is the process that's been in place since I've been working for the town. There's an application that the select board has in conjunction with the planning board. An applicant files that application and it's whether or not to the letter of the law, not general law, I certainly haven't looked at it. I defer to the council from that. But this is certainly the process that we followed since I've been here.
So I will say in terms of the process itself, any resident can come forward and request a zoning change on their property. So they go through the process, they file the application, so.
Right.
Or planning board, so planning board can make a recommendation, then obviously it would require legislative body approval, which is the process that we're going through here.
But that didn't happen last week. It was actually not done, and it was continued, and Was it premature to put on the warrant?
No, the planning board's action last night has nothing to do with being placed on the warrant. The planning board's action last night was to make a report to town meeting for Mass General Law that on whether or not to offer a positive recommendation, negative recommendation, or no recommendation. So, and then just to explain what happened with regard to the reconsideration. The public hearing was held, the public hearing was closed, the planning board went into their discussions. Ultimately, there was a motion to find a negative recommendation. We had 5 board members last night. There was a 3-2 vote to approve that negative recommendation. At that point, Mr. Akers' associate, Mr. Bransky, requested of the board a vote to reconsider and continue the matter to April 23rd, which is the next planning board meeting. At that point, based on Robert's Rules of Order, I noted the fact that because it was there's a request for reconsideration, that can only come from one of the board members that voted in favor of that motion. One of the board members that voted in favor did make that recommend a motion for a reconsideration. That was seconded, passed unanimously. That's why it was continued on to April 23rd. Unfortunately, the board didn't address notice. I was luckily able to speak with Mrs. French today. So and in fact, if my preference would have been to continued on to the 23rd in the first place, and avoid the kind of, end of the meeting kind of circle back.
Right.
If I could finish, please. One thing I do want to point out, the planning board did close the public meeting. They voted to close the public hearing. And I don't know for a fact that the planning board intends to reopen that public hearing. I believe that they may just open it for further discussion amongst themselves. So that's the status of the situation as it's before me. But with that.
Thank you. So are we certain that this is something that should be on the warrant, or is that still a question as far as?
Well, I guess it's not a question. It's a question. It's not a question. It can go on the warrant. We don't have to vote to put it on the warrant, but it's done the proper way. Usually, when something's, when articles are submitted to be put on the warrant, some of them can't be reviewed. Some of them have to go on. Do you want to say something, Ms. Akers?
Yes, I just want to say that this petition was done properly, it was done pursuant to the Mass General Laws, 48, Section 5.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
48.
Mass General Laws,
48, Section 5?
48,
48.
48.
40A.
I mean, okay.
For those received. So it's done properly.
So, okay, all right, usually it doesn't say vote a petition, that's why I wasn't sure if
So
it was supposed to.
Yeah, so it's vote of petition because it's an application, it's not a recommendation, because when we get zoning changes, it's usually coming from planning.
Right.
So I didn't want to confuse that this is
Right,
planning that's actually driving this.
The thing that brought this up though, and made it turn from the non-recommendation to be reopened is the attorney for the person who wants this threatened a 40B instead of, if he wasn't able to get what he wanted, he threatened a 40B, and the members of the board were not comfortable with that, so they said, so this is a lose-lose situation. Because the attorney actually made an implied threat.
That was last night?
Last night.
Because when they were in front of us, I didn't hear any of that, so.
If I could just, with regard to the fact that the planning board made a decision based on that, threat, the fact that a 40B project was raised, that is kind of claim deed for the property, by the applicant's attorney, but to say that that was the reason why it was reconsidered, is really putting words into the planning board's mouth at this stage. I don't put words in the planning board's mouth. I certainly defer to them. They did not include that language with their motion to reconsider. As I said, we had 5 board members. I don't even want to speculate why they did it.
I apologize.
All I can say is that we did vote. It was by a member who did vote for the motion, so it was under Robert's Rules in order properly. And then with regard to Mr. Bransky speaking afterwards, I'll defer to the chairwoman, but I think it's pretty common for a board chair to allow for an applicant's attorney to make further statements outside the process of the public hearing. That's in presenting their application.
okay, so where it stands now is it's gonna be on the agenda for the planning board for April 23rd.
Yes.
And then if we allow this to go forward on the article for May 13th, that hearing is gonna be before May 13th. I guess it was eight,
We're not sure if it's gonna be in the meeting, right?
Oh, yeah.
Whether or not they reopen the public hearing, I think would be the fight.
Oh, I see. Okay, so it'd still be an open meeting, just
Yes, whether or not they take additional public comment.
It still would behoove
Understood.
you to be
Okay,
there.
so I can be there.
Yes, yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's for 23rd.
probably the same place the other one was last night, right?
So, right here.
Okay, and then depending on what happens, the town meeting's May 13th.
May 13th, and that's at the high school, correct?
Yes.
So what time is it?
7 o'clock.
7 p.m., okay. And what typically has to occur for you to remove things from the warrant? Or
Well,
can they be, can I do a motion to continue something to the next town meeting? Is there anything that I know?
you can, that's something that can be done on town meeting floor. The planning board could decide after April 23rd not to, if it goes forward from here, gets on the warrant, then they have their meeting, they decide whatever at town meeting. They could continue, postpone it or indefinitely postpone it.
So they could have done that last night, no.
Well, no, this is how the town meeting runs. When there's an article on a warrant, any article on a warrant at the town meeting.
Okay.
Any registered voter can get up and make a motion to indefinitely postpone.
Okay.
They could get up to talk, they could get up to change the value or whatever. But the procedures through the moderator and he'll direct you.
So nothing that happened last night.
Yeah, Madam Chair, the planning board's charge under section 48, chapter 48. Section 5 is to provide, and under the zoning bylaw, is to provide town meeting with a report, essentially a recommendation. They do not have the ability to hold something. Certainly, as electors of the town on the floor of town meeting, they could, as you just stated, make a recommendation that it be continued, then it go in front.
Right.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have? No, yeah, good, thanks. Okay. Anybody have anything else? No.
What was, 15 was also a vote petition. How was that one done? That was that by,
Sorry.
Article 15 was also a vote petition. How was that one done? Was that a signature?
That one's second.
DuckTales.
Special thoughts. Article 16 is- Okay,
So I would, I guess I would recommend that first we go through and just figure out which articles, if any, are coming off. And then make the motion to approve that article as is, and then we can go and take actual votes as to how you want to make the recommendations.
okay. We want to go through, well, Article 1 is for other committees and that's usually on there. So I'm going to just say the article numbers, so if you have something you want to say, stop me. Article 1, Article 2 is for the, what that's, yeah. Article 2 is the budget. Article 3 is the salary and compensation for elected positions. Article 4 is the equipment, there's 10 separate capital items. Article 5 is the community preservation committee. Article 6. The surplus property. Article 7 is free cash 2024. Oh, that's the snow and ice expense. Article 8 is the opioid settlement. Article 9 is the $50,000 for the Dr. Kevin Hurley HVAC stabilization fund. Article 10 is the PEG cable access. Article 11,
Rush. Not the article, rush.
waste. waste. That is still open because they haven't quite got the figures yet. Article 12. Oh, 0 Fall River Avenue, like we discussed. Article 13 has to do with Mr. Orban's presenting of his amendment. Article 14, we had a discussion about for the rezoning. And Article 15 is for vote of petition for money for the high school thing. 16 bucks. And Article 16 is the power. To change, money get the amend category 14B of town bylaws for gold ducks. So I went over the articles. Anybody have any issue with any of them that were they? So we can vote.
I don't have any issues, but I do have a question about that peg fund. I know we had said we were gonna establish that account. But I thought we had also said that we would also have an article for withdrawing from, because we we're gonna do that twice a year. Once in the spring and once in the fall. So if we don't withdraw from it now, that means we wait till fall before any money comes out of that account. That's like a whole year from when we started collecting the checks,
We don't know where the money's gonna go.
right? Okay.
So if something comes up prior to the next meeting that we know where the money's gonna go. Is there a way to have that money
You can,
usable?
so you can open, I mean, you can open the warrant anytime, but we have to have it out to the public 2 weeks before, so.
No, that's not what I'm asking. That's not what I'm asking.
So
In connection with her statement that if the money goes in there, last time we discussed that we go to town meeting, we take it out twice a year to pay
right,
the bills. If we put it in and we don't have another warrant that allows us to take it out, then that means we put the money in now in May and nothing's gonna happen with that money till November.
So you're asking for a placeholder.
So if some,
Is
no, no,
something-
no, what I'm asking is, what if we need that money before November?
right.
That's what I'm asking.
You have to have a special company.
Well, we don't wanna do that.
So
Right.
that's what I'm saying, so you gotta wait you need an appropriation from town. So we only have town meeting twice a year.
Right, unless we get a special town meeting, I get it. And you're saying that it's. Well, actually, it says, accept the provisions to create the fund.
Right. Not take any money out.
Then the money for that would go into that fund and we won't be able to take it out till November.
Mhm.
But what would happen if things changed and we needed the money? I mean, yeah, if we wanted to take that money out. We'd be able to do that till November.
Unless again, we have a special town meeting.
Stop it.
So we have, I mean, if things change between now and I
November.
would say, no, well, I was gonna say,
May.
April 26th, then we could reopen and place a warrant article,
My next meeting is the 24th,
24th. So.
because it has to be specific as to where it's going. You can't just say withdraw whatever to peg access
you gotta-
company or whatever the heck it is. Has to be specifically said who it's going to.
Well, like you said, we got one more meeting too. So. I know you're not gonna say anything.
I
Okay.
don't know. I
Yeah, I
guess it's the same response.
I get. it. Don't tell me about the special town meeting again.
I just don't know, maybe left generic like Article 11 is, because with contract, you're not saying who you're going into a contract with and how much it is.
Yeah, because it's not done yet.
Exactly.
But they're doing it now, right? I get it. Yeah, the second. Anybody else? Anybody have anything? We all good? Okay. So I need a motion. Need a motion. The warrant for the Springtown meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the warrant for the Springtown meeting.
Second.
Then I got a motion and a second. Does anyone have anything else to say? Hearing nothing, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, unanimous. Okay, assign warrant articles. This is always a fun part.
So we can take item
What?
S and T together, I guess.
Right. Oh, I get it, yeah. Assign warrant articles, which is S, which basically means that you're assigned an article and you make the motion on the floor. T, make recommendations on warrant articles, that's from the board. And you're gonna have somebody go through this and make sure that it also is select board and not board of selectmen, correct? Okay.
Well, technically, we are still board of selectmen,
Yeah.
not select board.
We are.
Technically should say board of selectmen,
Legally.
for it to be legally binding. Unless you want to put that article on here to have the name change. But you'd still, but
That's
that's,
to the charter.
Charter change.
They tried that last time and people were worried about commas.
well,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Article 1, actually,
So that's
that's,
just whoever comes up. So usually the chairperson will make that if it's a vote for. So I will put that down too.
yeah. Article 2.
I'll do it.
Article 3.
Recommendation.
No recommendation,
Oh,
right?
I'm sorry. I want-
Oh, I thought you were talking about three.
Oh, no, two.
Well, 1, we only make a
Yeah,
rec,
on the
that,
floor.
yeah, that's
Right.
nothing. Well, it's not nothing, it's just, yeah, the budget with approval, but, oh, I don't want to talk for everybody. Does the select board approve the budget?
We
Did
did
we
earlier in
do
the
it?
meeting.
Yeah, I approve it.
Good.
Okay.
Just a 5-0 recommendation.
yeah.
Yeah.
Article 3 has to do with the elected and appointed officials.
No recommendation.
Yeah, no recommendations.
No, but somebody still has to make the motion.
I'll read it.
Article 4, let's figure the 10. Okay, and the select board approval. Anybody disapprove? So we do approval 5-0.
Yep.
Yep.
Article 5. Oh, that's a community preservation fund. Is it? Yeah, ask them. What's that?
I could ask them.
Mr. Dowd, you handle that, right? Yes, Steve. Very good.
His favorite article.
Can we still make a recommendation on that? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Anybody opposed? So we can make a 5-0? Okay. Approved. Article 6. Motion to. As a surplus property and,
Let's reading.
anyone opposed to that?
No.
No.
Okay, 5-0. Article 7 has to do with the money from free cash, the snow and ice expense.
I'll read it.
Yes. Any opposition from the board? Okay, 0. Okay, the opioid settlement special reserve fund.
I can read it.
Everybody all set with that? Is there any opposition? No, it's 5-0. Okay. Article 9, the school committee, that's the school committee will present, they'll make their own motion. And what is going to be, are we going to make a recommendation for that?
I'm abstaining.
I would suggest.
I got more questions.
I'd wait till town meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good idea. Article 10, the PEG cable access and cable related fund.
I can do that.
Kristen. And the board. What is your
Yep,
stance?
all
Are we supporting?
Yep.
Yes. Chris, Mike?
yeah.
Mike?
Yeah, I guess, at this point, yeah.
Okay, so that's 5-0. Article 11. Town meeting, yeah, we don't have. that. And if I have to, I'll just, once it's done, I'll read.
So you're gonna read it?
Well, yeah, once it's done, yeah, well, it's a lot, I think, do we have to? Yeah, we'll do it on town meeting for, from the board too, because we don't have everything yet. Article 12.
I'll do it.
Zero Fall River Avenue, what's the recommendation from the board? Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Article 13, Mr. Albans.
So he typically, so I'll leave that to the chair. He usually reads it, but he can't make a recommendation. So.
Right,
Sometimes-
but he can't make he can't make the
He
motion,
can't make.
yeah, but is somebody from the planning board gonna make the motion?
So that sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not, so I'll leave that as the chair, just in case. The planning chair is not there, so I'll remember.
Okay. And, are we gonna make the recommendation for that? Everybody?
Do we typically,
We typically usually say no recommendation.
Yeah.
No recommendation. Okay, and then Article 14. Is the vote of petitioner gonna get up and talk on this?
John
Make the motion,
John will be able to speak to it, because he's gonna give the planning board.
but he can't make the motion.
No, so.
So I mean, John can speak on it, but who's gonna make the motion for this?
Well,
Is
I
the
would-
owner of the property?
I would anticipate if the individuals over there are gonna get the meeting, I'm sure they'll want to make a motion, but if not,
But,
But they have to be residents and voters, right,
Right.
in order to make that motion.
so it's not,
But-
we can have, it's just to read it, so.
Right.
yeah, but if,
I'll do it.
Just to read it.
It's
That's all
just to
it says.
read
You
it.
don't- you don't-
It's just to read the motion.
You can vote against it, yeah.
You understand that? See? So he said that he will read it at town meeting. That's all he's doing. It's just reading the motion.
Mr.
Yeah,
Healy,
yeah.
one of our select board members is gonna read the motion. And then, once the motion is read, that's when all the discussion goes on right after that.
And there are board members there that day?
Oh, we'll be there. No, the whole town meeting makes it, all registered voters at the town meeting make the decision in the end.
Okay, so they would actually have to be at that town meeting. In other words, I couldn't get a petition with signed names on it because they would have to be active.
You have to be at the meeting to vote.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
and you have to be a registered voter at the meeting, yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry, Article 15, sure, go ahead.
Can you bring expert, like engineers or anything like that to a town meeting, or is it just residents? Is there time for anything like that, or, I mean, how prepared do you need to be at something like that typically?
Well, at the town meeting is when they're gonna pass it or fail it. So you have to be prepared. You can bring anybody you want to speak on the article, but if they are not a registered town voter, you have to advise the moderator before the meeting that you would like that whoever to get permission to speak on the article. And you can talk to him right there at the meeting, and the best thing is to give him a piece of paper if you have somebody.
At that meeting, actually makes the vote, it's not a zoning board or a board of selectmen. And are there steps after the town meeting that they have to do? Does it go to the attorney general?
It does, yeah.
That's more or less, the attorney general review is more or less a review of of legality and procedure, right? She's saying after this, Actually, it's done, yeah,
Okay, that's it,
But-
you're done.
yeah.
All right,
Okay.
fair enough. Thank you.
You're welcome. Article 15 for the high school band. It's just, wait, I'm just,
Expectations and time.
that's all right. Because it was put on by signature, do they make the motion, somebody
They
from
may,
there?
they may not be there, so usually we.
And what kind of, yeah,
Yep.
Yes.
and then the,
I'll read the docs.
you want them, let's go, he does. Yay.
Recommendation.
For the top, so, I'm in favor,
I'm in favor.
I'll approve it,
That's fine.
so let's go with that. Oh,
So who had the crystal ball to know how the vote was gonna go tonight? The paper's already ready.
what?
Oh, like crystal ball. Pre-knowledge.
Okay, so we did, a sign warrant, sign the warrant. Sign the warrant?
Yeah.
Here we go, sign the warrant, yeah.
Michael Brady down here twice.
Michael Brady.
No, Bradley wants.
Bradley,
Oh,
Mike Bradley.
Good.
Yeah, that was jumping about. Yeah. I'll agree. Okay, so we will sign the warrant, okay, consider accepting the open session meeting minutes of March 13th, 2024. And I will make a motion to approve them, they have been kept when I was done.
Okay.
I made the motion.
Second.
Thank you, Justin. Do we have anything? Anybody have anything to say as far as they saw anything that I missed?
No.
Seeing no one. Does everybody accept? Motion accepted
Aye.
Yes, aye.
for approval? Mr. Healy. abstained. Excellent. Community speaks. Do we have anybody for community speaks? I don't even know. I think the same. I cannot see over it. Nobody. Nobody at this time. Other business, no other business within 48 hours. Do you have anything? Okay, no other business. Town administrators report, Department of Public Works building.
So the building committee just met prior to this meeting. We got the new cost estimates back, so we had two cost estimates come in, one that was provided by a cost estimator for the architect, and then an additional independent cost estimator from the OPM. So the estimates came in within 500,000 of each other, so it's a swing, so it was a really close estimate. Unfortunately, we're still higher than what we anticipated. We obviously did some value engineering to reduce the price. So now we've got to go back, still do some. So looking at evaluations and then also looking at some several options to figure out how we can bring this cost down. There's also going to be some additional boring tests that are going to be taking place on April 20. It's April
20 something.
26th.
Yeah.
So they'll be out there for 2 days digging the site. That's really going to determine the costs for the site. So we've got about $8 million in site remediation work, so that could potentially come down. So we have another meeting scheduled for next Wednesday. So we'll have more information at the next meeting.
Board of Selectmen liaison reports and comments, town table warrant been signed, 540 Arcade Avenue Building Committee report, that's mine. We had some of the finalization done. There had to be some fireproof painting done in the elevator and in an adjacent room, a lot of little things, painting and fix this and fix that have been done. We have MX coming in on Friday to hook up all the computer systems and telephones. And we are now applying, we need to get a pre-inspection of the elevator, which means they have to come in, make sure everything works. And then and you cannot preempt that. Now that everything is done, now you apply to get the pre-inspection. You can't do it ahead of time, so now we can apply for that. And as soon as that's done, we can apply to get a final inspection by everybody and get our occupancy permit.
Getting there.
It's so close. Okay, DB9 liaison report.
Sure. Well, I guess this had all escalated quickly. I have prepared a statement. And then we'll keep it limited here because I think we're gonna have an executive session later, but we'll say, when I first heard of TV9's actions to suspend broadcasting public meetings, I was as shocked as anyone. We have not even had a second meeting to discuss our counter proposals. For those residents recently hearing about this situation, you're likely asking, how did we get here? Here's a summary of the negotiations. January 9th, Sean Kadim and I met with 3 representatives from TV9, Andrea Rossiter, Doreen Taylor, and David Saad. In this meeting, we presented a boilerplate cable access agreement provided by Town Council. This agreement is fairly common in communities around the state. This document contained highlighted and redlined areas that we knew would have to be reviewed or discussed. We also were upfront and provided them some areas of interest that were on our items for negotiation. We weren't able to begin a true negotiation as TV9 had still not officially organized its board and appointed designees for the negotiations, despite this board being elected a month prior on December 12th. It was our hope that by providing them the drafted agreement and discussion points in advance that we could expedite negotiations in time for Springtown meeting. Our next meeting was on February 15th. Prior to the meeting, on February 9th, we received an email document from Ms. Rossiter. This document resembled the town's access agreement, but with significant omissions and changes at first glance. This document lacked the customary redlining to indicate where changes were made, or any highlights and notes to possible changes. This was not a very transparent start to the negotiation. Upon entering the room for the negotiation, we were met by TV9 representatives Andrea Rossiter, Doreen Taylor, and Mike Dressler, the negotiation designees. They were also accompanied by 2 unexpected and uninvited guests. There were 2 attorneys that quickly introduced themselves as legal representatives for TV9. After a brief introduction and crediting themselves for the agreement that was emailed to us, they quickly offered to stay and answer any questions. Skeptical of their intentions, I provided an ultimatum that either the lawyers leave the room or we cancel the meeting and return at a later date with our lawyers. The TV9 team opted to excuse the lawyers and proceed. It was clear we were not exactly off and running to good faith negotiations. The remainder of this meeting was spent discussing changes proposed by TV9 and trying to make sure we captured the changes between our document and their unmarked revision. We left the meeting with a second official negotiation for March 12th. Unfortunately, we ended up having to reschedule this meeting a couple of times, in part because Town Council was tasked with deciphering the numerous changes and omissions from the original document and ultimately having to revert to that original document and build a new red line copy with any accepted changes from TV9, as well as proposals from the Board of Selectmen. This copy was forwarded to Andrea Rossiter on March 29th. At the time, we had a meeting in the books to discuss the document and the town's proposals on April 8th. This brings us to the decision and actions by TV9 on April 1st, Election Day. The announcement to suspend broadcasting and also send TV9 employees into town buildings to seize equipment was as stunning as it was unnecessary. One also has to call into question why they would do this on election day of all days. TV9 claimed conflict of interest during the campaign window, depriving residents of any debates as they had 2 board members up for election. Yet, on election day, they chose to make this announcement and deprive residents again transparency in government and blame the board of selectmen. The appearance of TV9 board's impulsiveness is rivaled only by that of potential manipulation. Before I conclude, I've been asking by a number of residents as to what is this really specifically about? Town of Seekonk holds a cable licensing agreement with Comcast. Comcast pays the town of Seekonk 5% of revenues through your subscriber fees to be used for local television with PEG limits. That's public access, education, and government. The town then has the option to either manage its own public access TV for these purposes or issue a license agreement to an independent nonprofit. These funds received by Comcast are considered town revenue by the state and require appropriation through town meeting like all other budgets. So what's the big deal with this agreement? As some of you know, there was a controversial board change at TV9 late summer, early fall last year. During that time, it was brought to light the funding from Comcast was improperly flowing directly to TV9 without passing through the town first. We also discovered the town and Seekonk Cable Access did not have a proper licensing agreement in place. This triggered changes to ensure funding was properly flowing from Comcast through the town back in the fall, and an agreement would need to be negotiated. So, what about the money? Any current quarterly payments procured from Comcast are being held by the town until they are appropriated for any of those PEG uses I described. That is all they can be used for. All previous payments from Comcast can be found in the financial statements at TV9. About those statements, though. At the annual members meeting on December 12th, 2023, TV9 presented its annual financial report from fiscal year ending October 2022. That's right, 14 months ago. This report showed in excess of $500,000 in cash and securities, not to mention a rental property that they collect income from. Altogether, you can total their cash and assets as of October 22nd to the tune of over $1.1 million, with a mere $25,000 in liabilities. You could say they are a very financially stable organization. The operating expenses over the last 2 years, 2022 and 2021, averaged $220,000. So fast math will tell you that they could operate for the next 2+ years without a single check from the town, or should I say you, the cable subscribers and taxpayers of this town. So why can't they continue to provide the service that is a principal reason for their existence? Make no mistake, this all could have been avoided. Had TV9 behaved more in good faith by refraining from their decision, by refraining from their actions on April 1st. However, since the first meeting, they have unnecessarily escalated the tensions in this negotiation, and it was necessary for the Board of Selectmen to postpone negotiations on April 8th and consider our next steps during tonight's executive session. I hope this provides the residents some clarity of the situation. Finally, given the turn of direction in these negotiations, I don't think it's prudent for a Board of Selectmen member to attend TV9 meetings unless an agreement is reached. Thank you.
The County Advisory Board?
Nothing new, Jim. I haven't heard from them at all, so I have absolutely no idea when
gonna take place.
July, August.
Yeah, shoot,
Yeah.
shoot.
Okay, I'm assuming you'd get like an email or something from them.
Radira's Farm Committee for reports.
Nothing really to update. We're still waiting on one member to submit his evaluation before we can come back to the board, so award of it.
Okay, Seacon Public Library feasibility study building assessment.
Yep, the DEP permit was finally approved on April 3rd. Kate Ebert has been in contact with the architect to set up a time for them to do the investigation they need of the foundation. But that has not been scheduled yet. Not sure when it's gonna happen, but they said they would let me know once it's scheduled.
Okay,
But Kate is on vacation next week, as is Dave Cabral, so
it won't be
they're
next
not,
week.
not quite sure when it's gonna happen.
So since that permit's been approved, they can actually move forward with.
They can move
the
forward,
execution.
yep, they can move
Good.
forward with that.
Find out what's going on with the climate.
So if the architect comes back and they're on vacation, so Sharon is aware they can start.
Okay, good.
Jim LaFlamme will take Dave's place. So,
Jim Halpin.
I mean.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim Halpin.
Halpin.
It's not that late.
It- No, I'm there, though.
Yeah. Okay, comments from the Board of Selectmen. Mr. Healy, do you have anything?
I do have a couple of things, thank you. Madam
Go ahead.
Chair. First off, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Zara on his reelection. We had a lot of fun standing out there again, he promised me the sun at one point, then he came out for like 20 minutes and it disappeared again. I want to thank everybody that came out, it was a good turnout. It was actually kind of surprised when they showed up that morning, I think there were more tents and music playing and bubble machines and all kinds of things, so it was an interesting day out there. That was the positive side. The negative side that I saw was, you know, there was a lot of stuff that went on social media that I felt was unnecessary in this town. I don't think we need to resort to that across the board, bad mouthing people, bashing people. You know, people run, a lot of people decided to run this time. But once we had people come up, step up, new people that I had never heard of, anything like that, that came out. For whatever reason, they wanted to step up and help out the town. But to be publicly bashed on social media is absolute disgrace. And I hope moving forward, and I hope this board starts to work on setting an example for other boards and committees to follow, that we don't act like that. We don't get involved in that. We stay out of that. We stay positive and we try to do the right thing for the town. The only other thing that I felt was unfortunate, because there were so many newcomers, there was not that opportunity to have those televised debates. Because I think some of the people that ran could have got their views out better than a couple of the meet and greets that we were invited to, right? So I was fortunate enough to go to a couple, but between the two, I think if I met maybe 80 to 100 people, that was a lot. It might be lower than that. You know, the one at the library had a pretty good turnout. The other one was a little bit less than that. So between the two, so that's, I don't even know what percentage of the town voting population that is. So there's a lot of this population that can't get out and go to those meet and greets, and all the time they're busy, but they could watch those debates. And that was the only downside, and I understand the situation, and I understand the decision. I did reach out to one of the directors of Cable Nine. I personally asked if there was gonna be debates, and I was given the answer that because they had candidates running, they chose not to. That's their decision. Right? I'm not bashing anybody, I'm not questioning it. I'm just saying from the election standpoint, being a candidate, to get out there and express your views when you're getting asked questions by a moderator, that you don't know what the questions are, you have to respond. That's how people get a good feel of what you're, in the direction you want to give the town. So I just, you know, especially for the newcomer, right? People, I think some people know who I am. They know some of the other people that ran, especially for this board. Right, but for the school committee and town clerk, there was some real newcomers out there that I thought lost that opportunity. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Pope, do you have anything?
I have one item, boards and committee openings. It's great that we had 2 people tonight being appointed. And I would love to see this list down to nothing if possible. So maybe if it has to be an agenda item for future discussion, or maybe it can just be part of the boards and committee opening section. I don't know if it has to be a separate agenda item. To find ways that maybe this board could try and boost up people's interests and knowledge of these different committees, whether it's like a kind of like the library where they had all the candidates there, if you had the committees there, kind of like an open house type thing, they could come in and meet the different members of the committees, find out what they do. Or have them, have a different committee come in to each of our meetings and give a presentation of what they do. Like just ideas like that, maybe we could brainstorm as a group and have that discussion. So like I said, either we can have that during the boards and committee opening section or as a separate agenda.
Justin?
I'm all set, thank you.
Rick?
Congratulations to Mr. Healy. It was like he said, it was a unique day. Bubble machines, Eminem, Jay-Z playing in the background, tents, those big blow up things that wave their arms. It was, then at night, there was some lights, disco lights. It was actually pretty cool. The amount of people that came out was a steady line all day, traffic flowing until about 6 o'clock, 6:30. I thought it was a really good turnout, whether they came for us, school committee members, the question, whatever they came, but they came. I think it was 2,500 people in total. So I want to say thank you to everyone that did come out and vote, no matter how you voted. Thank you for coming out to vote. Something piqued someone's interest. The only thing I'll say about the TV9 thing, I understood why they did not have meet the candidates, because they had 2 people running, a third person on their board ran for write-in candidate, but so they had 3 members running. The only thing I took as a personal attack was on April 1st. At about 11 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock, they decided to release that statement against the Board of Selectmen. Me, I was the current only sitting member of the Board of Selectmen, they had 1 person running and Mr. Healy, who was also running for the spot. So I thought that was a little, when they pledged the whole time, we're not getting involved, and on election day, they get involved with one of the members that's running for the board. I took that as a little, they were coming at me, but, other than that, I want to thank everyone that came out that day. Thank you very much.
I'd like to welcome you back. You took a little hiatus, but you're back now. And you put your name on that ballot, remember? So, but I'd like to thank all the voters that came out to vote. I believe this was one of the highest town elections attendance that we had. So that was great, and people were coming in and out all the time.
Must have been the names on it now.
Must have been. Well, they came out with something. So, which is great. Not only but I have been approached by a lot of people about our public access PEG channels not being up and running, not only for the debates, because a lot of people, that's where they get their information from. They look at the debates. Their decision, I understand that. It's just, it was missed. It really was missed. People in this town, and I do a lot of stuff at the senior center, and a lot of those seniors, that's what they look at. A lot of them tape our program and they either watch it later, well, they don't tape it. They know it's gonna be on cable, and they'll look at it later when they can, or they look at it on YouTube, and not having that access to those channels is cutting a lot of residents from this town from seeing what they like to see. They look forward to it. They will, if they see you, they'll approach you, because they approach me because they want to know what happened. So I just told them that the negotiations were going on, and hopefully we will have this fixed, please, as quickly as possible. The recommendation for the boards and committees presenting, that has been done in the past, because I had recommended that the last time I was on, like to have one committee or board come and do a short presentation. Yeah, just so people know what it's all about and all that. So maybe we can start that up again. Take the, and I'm not singling out any one committee, but maybe the one that really needs to have a little boost in their membership. We can ask, and it doesn't have to be anything long, and we can put it at the beginning so they don't have to stay like we do through all of this. That would be great. That would be great. And thank you for your confidence in me, and things may change a little bit, I'm sure. Okay, everybody good? Dawn, you all set? Okay, I'll take a motion to enter in, well, no, I'll take a motion to adjourn open session to enter into executive session to reconvene an open session for potential contract approval. A, executive session pursuant to general law, chapter 38, 21A3 to discuss the initiation of yes, thank you. Initiation of litigation with respect to Seacon Cable Access LLC, where a discussion in open session will have a detrimental effect on the town's litigation position and the chair so declares. B, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property pursuant to Mass General Laws, chapter 30A, subsection 21A6, as having the discussion in open session would be detrimental to the negotiating position of the town, AP 15 lot 47. C, to conduct strategy sessions with respect to negotiations with the fire chief per Mass General Law, chapter 38, subsection 21A2, as having the discussion in open session would be detrimental to the litigation or bargaining position of the town. D, to conduct strategy sessions with respect to negotiations with the deputy fire chief per Mass General Law, chapter 38, subsection 28(2), as having the discussion in open session would be detrimental to the litigation or bargaining position of the town. And E, consider accepting the executive session meeting minutes of March 27th, 2024.
Second.
8:08.
Or yeah, so
So
moved.
moved.
So moved.
So moved. Sullivan, so moved.
8:08.
Pam Posey, yes, Pam Posey, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Are you gonna roll call vote? Roll call.
Oh, sorry.
Michael Haley, Michael Haley, aye.
Justin Sullivan, aye.
Chris Zora, aye.
Michelle Hines, aye.